Hey everyone, this is Shepard, back with another video. This time, addressing the one question that you probably get asked the most often. If you stream this game, this is what people want to know. Everyone wants to know, streamer, what weapon should I make? What's the meta? Now, there's a lot of things that go into answering this. First of all, if you're a speedrunner, you've probably done all of your own math already. And, obviously when you're doing a speedrun, you want to control as many variables as possible. So the last thing that you want to be doing is resetting for crit RNG, because you're already going to be resetting for wherever the monster stands, whatever their AI decides they're going to do for their attacks, maybe some random health modifiers. Maybe another monster waddles in and triggers a mount and you're doing a TA run and that screws you up. So those are so many variables that I'll just say right off the bat, if your answer is Nargacuga, I get it. I 100% totally get it. The second I saw these monkey pants, saw they had crit boost 2 on them, I saw they had latent power 1 on them, I was like, oh, well, all right. It's going to be one of those games then. And that's not to say that there are still not some very powerful builds that don't necessarily use crit boost. But it's one of those things that, especially as the game goes on and we have more access to easier and better sets that give us crit boost 3, easier and better sets that give us things like crit I7 along with our weakness exploit, it's going to be unavoidable. Its very existence in the game, barring some truly bizarre weapons, is going to make it so that we're going to see really just a lot of crit builds. And, there's other things that go into it as well. So obviously most Nargacuga weapons, they get somewhere between 35, 40, 45% affinity, which is a lot. Means, pretty much your weakness exploit will get you more or less at 100%. They all start off with white sharpness, and they all have, for the most part, fairly decent raw. It's not amazing. It's not, 250. I don't think there's even any of them that go above 190, at least with rampage skills, or without rampage skills. So it's a good choice. If you're wondering for your very first weapon, Nargacuga is great. Now, as things evolve, so as we start getting, easier access to handicraft, as we get easier access to crit eye, all of those things, a lot of the advantages of those Nargacuga weapons are going to slowly fade away. But even without that, there are other considerations that you should probably make in terms of making a large weapon category or a large weapon catalog. So as you can see, I guess we'll finally address the monster we're fighting right now. I'm fighting Rajang, and I'm not using a Nargacuga weapon. I mean, I just told you Nargacuga weapons are among the best. That's because if you just limit yourself to that one weapon, if you don't, think at all about, what are the secondary effects on my weapons? So, is the file good on Nargacuga? Are there other weapons out there that also get blue or even white sharpness? Are there other weapons out there that might actually even have a higher base raw than Nargacuga? The Barrios Switch Axe is a pretty good example of that. Nargacuga Switch Axe has a poison file. It doesn't really do very good damage. Poison in general in this game seems weak, at least against Rajang. I would assume it wouldn't be very good, but to be fair, I haven't really tested it. Elemental weapons do benefit in the sense that if you do accidentally hit a bad weak zone, you're not going to proc weakness exploit. You'll still do better than average damage, which again, for a speedrunner, they might just reset. If they don't hit their perfect hit, they'd reset. But for normal people or people that are doing what I would say is just a little bit more casual hunting at times, elemental weapons can be really nice. Like, say for instance, you're farming your Nargacuga. Is the best choice to be using Nargacuga weapons? I mean, if you're trying to use Narga Pierce 5 bow on Nargacuga, he doesn't really proc weakness exploit on really any of his shot hit zones except for, I think, his tail. His cut wings take awful raw damage, but actually take really great thunder damage. So that's something else to consider as well. So, you're gonna be thinking about what's the meta, what do I build? Even outside of all of these things that I've discussed, think about what sort of talismans have you gotten? Maybe you have only gotten a normal weakness exploit 1 charm without any slots in it or any other skills. But you're lucky enough to get a Bludgeoner 3 talisman with like a level 3 slot. That might change what the meta is for you. Suddenly all those green sharpness weapons are looking extra spicy because you can just fit so many quality of life skills in there. Start doing crit stacking and things like that. So I find it very interesting. When I think about my perfect Monster Hunter game, and I've said this before, and I still believe that, it would be that through a large catalog of weapons and a large variety of elemental weaknesses on the monster, we're encouraged to build not only, of course, our, crit boost raw meta set, could be Nargacuga, could be something else someday, as well as elemental weapons across the board. Now, I'm not crazy. I'm not assuming we're going to be getting great swords that are ever going to really have us actually thinking about the elemental damage, but dual blades, obviously bow, insect glaive, elemental file, switch axe, lots of weapons. I mean, hell, even longsword. I think we're even starting to see some players with longsword, given how often longsword can hit, and how silly that seems, of course, with longsword being such a raw dominated weapon for so long because of Helmbreaker. I think this might be the game. Just the other day, we posted that video on, is the end game okay in this? And I have to say that as long as it seems like we're constantly given an incentive to keep going across every element, across as many weapon trees as possible, I'm going to be pretty happy. So this is, of course, the Barioth switch axe. We'll go ahead and show off the set right now. And I'm just going to pop over to the arena. I'm just going to show you the damage numbers between the Barioth switch axe on the training dummy, and we're going to show off the damage numbers from the Nargacuga switch axe on the training dummy. And you'll see, like, on a normal hit, while in white sharpness, Nargacuga does have a slight edge, right? It's doing, like, what is it, another 4 or 5 damage on the hit. But when charged up, like, its file falls so far behind, and I just don't think the poison damage is going to be able to keep up. Now, of course, that being said, this is definitely one of the more extreme examples in the game when you have something that, to me, at least against an ice-weak monster, Barioth comes out so far ahead. But there are still many, many trees where Nargacuga comes ahead. So you can take a look at Insect Glaive. I'm not even going to bother. The Insect Glaive itself is a beast. It is so, so good. And there's really not much that's really taking it on outside of some very extreme examples where something just really doesn't take any good raw damage. But what you will see is there's a special attribute on attack assist bugs where your normal bug attack, if you use a cutting bug with assist on it, will actually get some amount of element. It's not a ton. But if you find yourself consistently tornado slashing into like wings or legs or the body, places where you may or may not be triggering weakness exploit, or again, if you're using Insect Glaive and you're looking to try and break Nargacuga's wings a little bit more effectively and faster without having to run Part Breaker, maybe think about it. It's definitely going to be less damage, for sure. But in terms of a total hunt, if you're spending, an extra 45 seconds to a minute just trying to break those wings to get the quest rewards, maybe think about using, the Zinogre Insect Glaive or something else like that. All right, so let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you think this matters? Are you just going to keep running Nargacuga weapons anyways? Are you going to go out and try and explore the weapon trees and different matchups and try to find out, you know, where do you want to go? What sort of effort do you want to spend? I'd be curious to hear about it. Otherwise, I do stream on twitch.tv every day, so go ahead and check me out over there. Otherwise, until next time, this is Shepard saying good luck and have a good hunt.